What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content you watch on the WWE Network and on Peacock. And today we're talking the July 6, 2024 edition of the SmackDown LowDown. Megan Morant, Scott Stanford in the studio running down the biggest headlines from Friday's show, which was overall a pretty throwaway edition of SmackDown. Go-home show before the pay-per-view tonight. I broke down the entire episode in my audio review from earlier, if interested, so check it out if you haven't already. But they open up the episode here replaying Bayley beating Piper Niven in non-title action. The focus wasn't really on the match itself, more so on the women's Money in the Bank combatants at ringside, but it was a fine match for what it was. We hear from Chelsea Green and Piper Niven afterward with Kathy Kelly backstage. Not really Piper, though. Chelsea kind of speaks on her behalf, which made me think for a second maybe they're teasing tension between the two because Piper's been losing lately. All the focus has been on Chelsea now that she's in Money in the Bank. Maybe not. They didn't really seemingly plant the seeds here for dissension, but something to keep an eye out for, though, in the future. She does praise Piper for all the work that she's done and being back in the title picture, that sort of stuff, briefly, before telling Kathy Kelly to not ask Piper Niven stupid questions. And then she herself vows to win Money in the Bank tonight and calls herself, when she wins, Cha-Ching Chelsea. Feels like everyone has their own nickname for when they win Money in the Bank. Like Yeah in the Bank, Yeet in the Bank. Mello said, I will be Mellow in the Bank, or whatever it was. Everyone's got their own nickname for when they win the briefcase. Only one person will be winning for the men and the women tonight. Obviously, that being one man and one woman as well. They preview the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Scott Stanford picks Chelsea Green. A nice pick. I think it's going to be Tiffany Stratton, but Chelsea Green's not a bad pick either. Not only would she be a great Miss Money in the Bank, I don't think it's entirely unrealistic to think that she could win it. There's a chance. I don't think she will, but it would be cool, though. We hear from Meechin backstage, and she says that she's standing on, or her knees hurt or whatever, from standing on business as of late. She's been involved in 2 different wars on 2 different brands. Doesn't say who the other one is with, but obviously she's acknowledging and referencing Jada Parker on NXT, who she had a street fight with on Tuesday, which was actually pretty good, and Jada Parker won that one. But she's been taught to survive, and Nia Jax will need to survive when they go one-on-one next week. And she says that she's been hearing from people that there's been a different Meechin walk in the halls as of late, and she will finish her war with Nia Jax, next week on SmackDown. She was holding like a kendo stick here, so I'm thinking, is that going to be a street fight too? But I think it's just a regular one-on-one match. She'll also prove that she's hardcore. She says that as well. Oh, that was another thing. She said that, and it made me think, are they having like a no DQ match or something? A lot like the match with Jada Parker on Tuesday, which was probably better than the one that she would have with Nia on SmackDown, which would probably be short on time, and Nia would win decisively, as she should before she challenges for the WWE Women's Championship at SummerSlam. But the Jada Parker match was a bit more competitive. Nonetheless, I think it is just a regular match, though, which is disappointing. They preview the match here. They also replay the Street Profits beating Pretty Deadly in tag team action on Friday night. We hear from B-Fab and the Profits afterward with Jackie Redmond. So I don't know if Jackie Redmond is on SmackDown permanently or just filling in temporarily now that Kayla Braxton's gone. Her last week was last week. She was on the SmackDown LowDown last week. They didn't really acknowledge her departure then or now, and they're not going to. They did put up a video on .com on their social media channels on YouTube with all the superstars like jokingly saying goodbye, not really caring that she's leaving, blah, blah, blah. So they did acknowledge it there, but that was really about it. So again, I don't know if Jackie's on SmackDown full-time now with Kathy Kelly. Typically, it's Byron Saxton, so... Or no, wait, don't Kathy... Honestly, I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it was Byron and Kayla for a while. And aren't Kayla, or rather Kathy and Jackie the Raw crew? I don't fucking remember. So they're going to have to do some switching up as far as who's going where to fill in for Kayla and who's going to fill in on Raw. Both of those women are headed to Friday Night SmackDown. I don't really know what their plan is as of right now, if this is permanent or not. They might just be in Toronto for the pay-per-view. I don't know. But anyway, so speaking of Jackie Redmond interviewing the Profits and B-Fab, B-Fab says that they want the revenge on the Tongans. So I literally just said this in my SmackDown review from earlier, that it was kind of weird that the Profits were involved in a feud with the Bloodline, kind of feeling directionless. They lost that feud. They got attacked by the Tongans a couple weeks ago. That went nowhere. And they had a match with them before that, and the Tongans won, that being the former Guerrillas of Destiny from New Japan, Tama Tonga, Tonga Loa. And the attack didn't really go anywhere, so I thought the feud was over because they beat Pretty Deadly here. And they did say in this segment that they want revenge on the Tongans. Montez Ford says that they'll put them down, as they always do. Not really the Tongans themselves, but they will win that match as they always do, which I have a lot of doubt in because the Tongans have been dominant as of late. He also says this was a funny line, they survived all variations of COVID, and they can survive all variations of the bloodline. Very funny, very interesting line there, but yeah, he said it. He said he survived all variations of COVID, which I guess is true because they're still here. Some people did not, though, which I thought it was interesting that he said that. But anyway, they're going to be the same variation of the Prophets that they always have been. Another funny line because they were not the same variation of the Prophets last summer. They switched it up, went heel briefly, started wearing suits. That was definitely a different variation of the Prophets, and they quickly moved away from that. So it's not as if they've been the same two guys for the past number of years. They did switch it up briefly last summer before going back to their tried and true as babyfaces earlier this year, or late last year even. Angelo Dawkins says they're coming for the Tongans, and that was it. Scott Stanford sings randomly. He was going to sing a song if Pretty Deadly won. He started singing it, went a little bit longer than I thought it would. That was that. They replayed the opening segment with all the men's Money in the Bank participants interrupting each other, attacking each other. Pretty ho-hum segment, standard stuff for WWE. They preview the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Scott Stanford picks Drew McIntyre, which was interesting, because typically the announcers do not pick the most obvious person in the match. And there's a few other people that could realistically win. McIntyre's not an awful pick. There really is no awful pick in the match. But it's just like I don't really want him to win because I feel like it's the most predictable path they can take by having McIntyre win, and then he already said he's going to cash in that same night and he would lose. He's not walking out World Heavyweight Champion. So it's just a waste of the fucking briefcase. I know it's a device to tell stories. I get that, but it's still a waste. They could put it on someone else like a Jey Uso. Even the LA Knight thing I feel like would be a better use for him to cash in on Logan Paul. Announce the match, obviously, but even then you don't really need it for him, but it would be a better use for him and have him cash in successfully than for Drew, who would cash in that same night and have it go to waste by losing via interference from Punk or whatever. So what my point is, the fact that Scott Stanford picked Drew, maybe it's a red herring, meaning that he's not winning. I don't know. I guess we'll find out tonight. They replay the emotional Kevin Owens promo, talking about his mother being hospitalized. So like I said in my SmackDown audio review, here's wishing her a speedy recovery from whatever it is. He didn't mention it in the promo, not that it really matters, but hopefully she's going to be good and her status will improve soon. They preview the Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens 6-man tag team match with the Bloodline at Money in the Bank. They replay the main event with DIY becoming the new WWE Tag Team Champions, beating A-Town Down Under before running down the card for Money in the Bank tonight. So pretty standard go-home edition of the SmackDown LowDown review, or my review of the SmackDown LowDown show, rather, my review of it, before the pay-per-view tonight. Because they haven't done, like I said, either earlier or in my SmackDown audio review, they haven't done a SmackDown LowDown before a pay-per-view in a while. Because typically the last couple of pay-per-views, King and Queen of the Ring, Clash of the Castle, Backlash, all of those shows actually were afternoon shows. And when they're afternoon shows, they don't have a chance to either do this show or record it or put it up or whatever. So they haven't done a SmackDown LowDown, a pay-per-view, a weekend of a pay-per-view in a while. They didn't do one for Elimination Chamber. I don't think they did one WrestleMania weekend either. So it would have had to have been the Rumble, I guess, back in January, I would assume, which is a long time. That's like 6 months ago. Not exactly complaining. I mean, it's nice they have the show back, but it's one less thing for me to review when there was a pay-per-view going on. But the pay-per-view was tonight. It's not happening this afternoon, which is why I'm able to watch it, review it now before the show tonight. But I'm looking forward to the pay-per-view. This edition of SmackDown LowDown, I thought, did a decent job of setting up the show, getting me excited for the show, and hopefully did the same for you as well. Thank you guys for checking out my review. I appreciate it. Be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content. Have an awesome one, folks. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.